Okay. Welcome. All of you look amazing. Thank you for being prompt and looking sharp. We really appreciate that. My name is Vi Van Noy. I'm the Director of Student Life and Special Events at RVU in Southern Utah. And along with Dr. Hayter, who is the Director of Student Life on the Colorado campus, and the rest of our Student Affairs team in the university, we welcome you. Class of 2021, and for Utah, our inaugural class. Welcome. Our orientation theme this year is resilience, valor, and unity. Our greatest hope and intention for you this year is that you build resilience through consistent self-reflection, that you realize that valor or courage comes not from avoiding fear, but metabolizing it, and last but not least, that in unity, there is strength. Your journey as a master's student is a new one. Some of you may be more prepared, while others may be still in awe of the fact that you're here today. But all of you need to know that you are not on this path alone, and you are not expected to complete this journey alone. Each day of orientation has been crafted intentionally to prepare you with knowledge, experiences, resources, and the support system to help you achieve new heights this year. With that, we'll get started. I would like to invite to the virtual stage the director of the MSBS program, Dr. Francina Town.
Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to see your faces, and you do look sharp. I am super excited to get started this year. We obviously are virtual today and for the next 4 months. So thank you for being on time and being presentable. And I'm just really, really excited to get started. We are starting our Utah campus. This is the first year. And this has been a dream to be able to provide a master's degree to not only Coloradans, but to Utah students. So first, before I get started, I'd like to introduce a few other people that are on the call that you will meet in a little while. First off, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ben Brooks.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Brooks is our assistant director on the Utah campus, and he will be your point of contact for the Utah students. In addition, helping Dr. Brooks is Holly Baggett.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see your faces. Happy to be here.
And on the Colorado campus, I don't believe that Dr. Joel Roberts was able to make it in today. Dr. Roberts, are you here? I don't think so. He just returned from paternity leave 2 days ago. And so I think he's still catching up on the 800 emails I sent him while he was gone. So Dr. Roberts is the assistant director for the Colorado campus and would be a point of contact for the Colorado students. The person helping Dr. Roberts on the Colorado side, and also the person who helps me, is Courtney Arndt.
Hey everyone, nice to finally virtually meet you all.
So now you can finally put faces to the names of all of the emails that you have been sent in the last week. And obviously, I am Dr. Town. I am the program director for both Colorado and Utah. And I've met many of you already, and I'm looking forward to meeting those of you who I haven't met yet. Let's go ahead and get started. Is there anybody else on the call that we have not introduced that is not going to get introduced later? Vi, is there anybody that you'd like to introduce?
Well, we do have Brian Walker here. He won't be presenting to you, but he is an important person in student affairs. He is the Utah academic advisor. So he can assist you with all kinds of fabulous advice. Brian, do you want to say a couple words?
Good to meet everybody. Look forward to working with you.
But besides that, I think everyone's been introduced. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Heder, would you like to say anything as the...
Sure. Welcome, everyone. I am the Director of Student Life for Colorado, as Vi introduced earlier. I'm really excited. Later on, you're going to get to meet a lot of our student leaders, and we're going to be, integrating you into the RVU community, and for that, we're very excited.
And we also have a faculty member on board joining us today, one of our brand new faculty members, very talented, Dr. Hallstrand. Would you like to say hello?
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to meeting students both in Utah and perhaps virtually, some of the ones in Colorado.
Thank you, Dr. Hallstrand. Thank you, everybody. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen, and I am going to give a presentation. This presentation is going to have a lot of information in it, and it's going to be a lot of important information. So if you would like to take notes, I encourage you to do so. This is information that Courtney and I and Holly, you will probably be tempted to ask us over and over and over again. So I just encourage you to take notes on this information today. Here we go. Can everybody see the PowerPoint? Can you see it? Okay, great. So this is our program overview for the class of 2021. You will speak with mentors and many previous MSBS alumni who are now in the COM or in the PA program. And those students have been through different versions of the program. I took over this program after its first year, and sorry. Will the file, I get distracted by the chat pretty easily, if you'll find that out. Will the PowerPoint file be available to download? Yes, we can download it, but I also just really want you to take notes if you can. It's a good way to get started on taking notes in general anyway. And yes, I think that the admins will moderate so that I don't get distracted by the chat. So this is our program overview for the class of 2021. You will speak to some of your alumni, and they had different versions of this program. One of the things that our team is very proud of is that we don't ever want our program to become stagnant. And so we do change things. We change things based off of what faculty suggest, based off of what the university suggests, and based off of what students suggest. So let's get started. Okay, come on. There we go. What is the goal of our program? So Rocky Vista will provide opportunities for our students with diverse backgrounds and diverse life experiences. The goal is to strengthen your educational foundation in the biomedical sciences and also to cultivate your critical thinking skills. And the other part of our goal is to prepare you for careers in the health sciences. We want to get you into programs, but our main goal is to strengthen your educational foundation. Now, that doesn't mean just improving your numbers. That means that we actually want you to know the material and be able to work with the material when you get into the healthcare program of your choice. Core values at RVU are a big thing. You'll hear about them quite often, and we've based our professionalism rubric around our core values: integrity, collegiality, compassion, diversity, excellence, service, and innovation. And we'll talk about what each of these means and what they don't mean when we go through the rubric. One of the things that I like to tell students is that it's really important to have expectations of each other. What can you expect from me? I will work very hard for you as your director and as your teacher. If you haven't noticed already, I'm the person who sends emails at 3 in the morning just to make sure that I'm covering all my bases. I will be very engaged in you as a student and your success. I will treat you with respect as professional adults. Now that you're in this program, we expect you to be professional adults. And I will handle any issues professionally. Now, these items don't just apply to me. They apply to the assistant directors and they apply to everyone working with you. You can expect everyone at RVU to handle issues professionally and to treat you with respect. And I will try to respond to you in a timely manner. I often get around 100 emails a day, and I sometimes can't get through them. I will very much have academic and intellectual integrity. And this is something that's really important, this next one. I will self-assess and I will be honest. None of us are perfect. We don't expect perfection. If I make a mistake, I'll go home, I'll look myself in the mirror, and I'll talk to you about it and admit it later. And I expect the same of you. And obviously, given the situation we're all in right now, you can expect me to be flexible in unforeseen circumstances. I will not know everything. No one does. And so please know that I am willing to admit that I don't know everything. I will likely make a mistake or two. It happens. We all do it. So that's what you can expect from me and from Dr. Brooks and Dr. Roberts and Holly and Courtney and everyone that you work with at RVU. Now, what I expect from you, bottom line, I want you to work hard. I want you to work hard for yourselves. This is only 9 months. It's a long 9 months, but make it count. You're paying, a lot of tuition. I want you to get the most out of this. I want you to work very hard. Make this your ultimate job. This is all you are doing for the next 9 months. This program is a stepping stone into the arc of your life. This could be the chance for you to move on to your dreams of being a physician or a physician assistant or a dentist. Please make it count. I expect you to treat myself, other faculty, staff, and colleagues with respect. I expect you to respond to emails professionally and in a timely manner. And obviously, we will all have academic and intellectual integrity. And as I will self-assess and be honest, I also expect the students to self-assess and be honest. If your first exam, you don't get the score that you thought you should have gotten, I fully expect you to go home and look yourself in the mirror. This is now a graduate program. You will not go straight to your professor and blame them for how difficult the test was. I want you to self-assess and be honest. And I want you to be engaged. Now, this may look different depending on personality types. We have extroverts and introverts, and obviously on Zoom, it's a little different. But please be engaged in your classes. Please be engaged with your professors. Go to office hours. Talk to your professors. Talk to your peers. And if you tend to be a more quiet, shy person, ask your professors if you can meet with them one-on-one once in a while so that you can get that time that you need. I expect you to seek help as soon as you need it. There is no pride in that. You don't need to have pride that you have to make this happen on your own. That's why you're in this program. That's why we're here to support you. And I want you to own this education that you are getting. It is going to give you rich meaning and help you in your pursuits of biomedical education. You need to be self-motivated and inner-directed. We will not hold your hand at every step. So we're going to need you to really be an adult and self-motivated here. And then, of course, especially now, please be flexible in unforeseen circumstances. You will have moments where a person is teaching and their dog hops into the live Zoom session, or their child starts screaming in the background. So please be understanding that we are all doing our best. As I tell my team, we need to give each other some grace because this is not an easy situation that we are in the world right now. So what are we doing for the fall and spring curriculum? I think many of you might know this already. In fall, we have 14 credit hours, and in spring, we have 16 credit hours. There are 3 classes that span both fall and spring: molecular basis of medicine, physiology, and anatomy. You have a humanities class in the fall, an evidence-based medicine class in the fall, microbiology in the fall, followed by immunology in the spring. And with our evidence-based medicine, that will be followed up by a journal club in the spring. And then we have a pharmacology class in the spring. Of note, anatomy and EBM do not start until week 4 of the fall semester. So your calendar looks a little bit light for the first couple of weeks. Do not let that fool you. This is an opportunity, and we've kind of designed it this way on purpose, for you to get settled, to get started, to get into your study mode before the stakes are really high. So for the first 3 weeks, get your study habits established, because as soon as anatomy and EBM kick in, it's going to get real. In addition, we do this increase slowly throughout the curriculum. We increase the credit hours from the fall to the spring as well, and that's to allow you to start getting your study habits established in the fall. For those of you who may not know some of the unique features in our program, the majority of our courses are taught by medical school faculty, PhDs, DOs, PharmDs, MDs. Our program incorporates simulation experiences into each semester. We are working on how we're going to do that virtually, if we can include the medical students. And so we are working on that right now. We will keep you posted. We have service learning in our curriculum each semester, and some of that obviously will be virtual, that you will be doing projects virtually and helping out the community. The reason we have service learning is to remind you of why you wanted to go into this field. You're going to have your nose in the books quite a bit. We want you to remember that many of you wanted to do this because you care about people and you want to help people. Our exams are in a block testing format. So you have an exam about once a month with all 5 of your didactic classes being tested in that day. This is to prepare you for long exams such as the MCAT and board exams. It also gives you the weekend off afterwards to not have to think about the next exam. We also integrate case studies widely into our curriculum. So our block exams occur once a month. They're approximately 5 hours, and we split this up for a few hours in the morning and a few hours in the afternoon. And it's around 160 questions. You will take this on your personal computer, and you will use your phone to be proctored. And all of those details will come out next week. The exams include 4 to 5 of the semester courses. We also have something somewhat new that the alumni have suggested, and these are super quizzes. So in the 3rd week of the semester, we want to prepare you for what a full block exam is like. It's approximately 50 questions, and it's lower stakes, and it's about 10 questions from each class. So that'll kind of give you a warm up to what a block exam is like. We also don't want to just leave you hanging. Most of our tests are multiple choice, and you won't see those questions again unless the faculty member chooses to show you them. So we have something called post-exam reviews, where we will review the concepts that you may have struggled with. The faculty will review those most missed questions and those concepts, so that we make sure that you understand those concepts going forward. And obviously, there will be other types of assignments, service learning projects, presentations, virtual group work, case studies, papers, and quizzes. And I show you pictures here. As I was putting this together last night, I was a little teary-eyed thinking about how this first semester we're not going to be able to have these sorts of events crowded in like this. But I know that all of you in this call today are resilient, and will find a way to make your service learning project meaningful. There is a comprehensive exam. This is to assess mastery of all of the concepts you've learned over the year. You must pass it with a 70% or higher to graduate. It is May 7th of next year, and it includes material from all of your courses. Now, this is really important. If my emceeing so far has put you to sleep, please wake up because this is absolutely important. Graduation requirements. You must have a 3.0 GPA to graduate, and you cannot get a grade below a C-. You must receive a 70% on your comprehensive exam, and you cannot have deficiencies in ethical, personal, or professional conduct. Obviously, you have to comply with all of our requirements at the university, and you need to attend and participate in the commencement ceremony in May. Now, if that ceremony is in person, you are required to attend it. If it is virtual, you will be required to attend it. It's part of the graduation requirements, and our accreditors will hold us to that standard. Now, this is something that is very, very important and near and dear to my heart, because I've had students in the past tell me, please, 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 Dr. Town, emphasize to students that they should not work during this program. I wish I hadn't worked during this program. I wasted my 9 months. Employment during this program is strongly discouraged. I know the calendar looks a bit open, but please don't fill it up. Some of you are here because you volunteered and said yes to many, many things in undergrad, and it affected your grades. I am asking you to resist the temptation to fill up your calendar with other things. Please fill up your calendar with studying for the next 9 months. The demands of our program are very high. The faculty feel very strongly that complete dedication to this has better outcomes for the students' long-term goals. And if you have financial considerations, please reach out to our Office of Student Financial Aid to help with budgeting or emergency loans rather than seeking outside employment. I will give you 2 examples of students from a couple of years ago. So I had 2 students who were working full-time jobs, and one of them decided, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to ask my family for help, and I'm going to quit my job. And that student quit their job, and they dedicated themselves to the program. That student ended up with a 3.8 GPA, is now a 3rd year in our comm, and has honored in almost half of their classes. I have another student who that same year decided that they could handle it, that they could work and they could do the program. And they did not do well on their first block exam. We had a meeting. They still didn't want to quit their job. By the second block exam, they were failing 3 of their courses. That student ended up having to repeat part of the year. And they told me and begged me to please tell their story so that you would be reminded to please not work during the program, because they felt they had wasted that first semester because they had to repeat it. So please do not work during the program. If you want to talk to me or Dr. Brooks or Dr. Roberts about your personal situation, please feel free to do so. Attendance. So attendance to all live Zoom classes is mandatory unless otherwise stated in the course syllabus. So yes, you will need to be in class for any live class. You would need to be there. It's especially important that you are in class on Monday, because if you are not in class on Monday, they will not release your financial aid. So please keep that in mind as well. The types of classes that we will be performing virtually, we will have live Zoom lectures. We will have pre-recorded lectures. Some faculty will record a lecture but still want to have class so that you can work through a problem set in a flipped classroom format. Some faculty are using a team-based learning format. Some will be using small group sessions and case studies. And I'm sure, given how talented and inventive our faculty are, they will come up with a new type of class as well. Tutoring information. We do have tutors for the program, and I will send this to you via email. We have 3 tutors for each class. The lead tutor is also the review tutor. They will lead or post a review before super quizzes and block exams for both campuses at once. The other tutors are small group tutors that help students, certain students after block 1, maybe if students are struggling, they will work with them in small groups. There is no individual tutoring in the master's program. This is a program to figure out if you can handle medical school, and we will not have individual tutoring through the program. The small group tutors will also be helping with both campuses. A few other items. Dress code. So what is this going to look like virtually? You do need to dress professionally. What does that mean? It means, no bikinis, no, I don't know, spaghetti strap tank tops in the middle of a virtual session. Please wear a shirt. Make sure it's clean and not holey. And also please wear pants. I know that's quite silly to ask, but you will inevitably need to get up at some point, and we definitely don't want a surprise for the rest of us. So please dress accordingly. Hygiene will be important. And you'll go through some Zoom etiquette in a little bit with the student mentors. Professor office hours. Every professor will have office hours. They will post them either in MyVista or they will email them to you. Please, please attend your office hours. Be respectful of the professor's time and utilize those office hours to help you get through your courses. Zoom and email etiquette. So if you haven't figured it out by now, medicine is very hierarchical. And for some of you in undergrad, you may have been able to call your professors by their first name. In medical school and in this program, everybody here will be called by their title. So you would call me Dr. Town, anyone who has a higher degree. There are PA professors that might be teaching you. You would call them Professor such and such. In email and in correspondence, verbal and written. So you'll learn a little bit more about Zoom etiquette from your peers. Obviously in the chat, chats are recorded and permanent records. So just like anything you would post on Twitter, it's a permanent record. Please be professional in all of your interactions, in your Zoom, in your email, et cetera, et cetera. Now, some of you might be suddenly worried, for those of you who might be a little more type A. Oh no, when I emailed Dr. Town or Dr. Brooks, I didn't call her Dr. Town. Don't worry. We're not going to think about that. But moving forward, please make sure that you address your elders properly. Point picking. Point picking is not allowed. We'll review the professionalism rubric, and I will tell you, we have had students who have had decent GPAs, but not been recommended to the COM because they spent so much time point picking. We did not want to recommend them in the COM. So please, 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 you are here to learn. You're not here to pick apart a question or a graded assignment. Do not point pick. Students are responsible for keeping track of their own grades. You will have meetings with me, and I will usually tell you what your GPA is at that time. It should not be a shock. If you come into a meeting with me and I say you have a 2.9 at the moment, you should be aware of that. You should be keeping track of your grades. I'm not saying you need to be obsessive about it, but when we have meetings, it will be important for you to know what your grades are. Please don't bury your head in the sand if you're not doing well in a class and you want to deny what the grade is. Please be aware of what your grades are. I will send out some forms for you to virtually sign, and we will have meetings next week. So I will send those out later this week. I know you already have a lot to think about. Some expectations for our meetings next week. We will be talking about professional goals. We will talk about your work situation, and it'll just be for me to get to know you a little bit. We do have electives. We have 3 electives this semester: History of Medicine 1, Epidemics, Medicine and Film, and Medical Spanish 2. Unfortunately, master students cannot take Medical Spanish 2 because you have to take Medical Spanish 1 first, which is offered in the spring. So these electives are available to MSBS students. They are held around 8 to 12 times a semester, and they run in the evenings or on the weekends so that they don't interfere with your core classes. The courses and registration instructions will be coming soon. And electives in the first semester should be discussed with me or Dr. Brooks or Dr. Roberts. Depending on your situation, there might be some students that I would recommend you absolutely don't take an elective. Master students tend to not elect electives because they really want to focus on doing well in the program. In the second semester, you don't need our approval to take an elective unless you are in academic probation. Our students do have fun. Right now, that fun is going to look a little different than this. But I do want you to know that the students that are on this call today will become your very close confidants, friends, study partners. And so look around the call today because this might be your new best friend for the next 4 years. Program structure. Where do you go when you need help? If you are having an issue in a course, you would first go to the instructor that you might have a concern about or with. And if that doesn't work, then you would go to the course director. If for some reason you have an issue and that's not getting resolved, you can then go to your assistant director on your campus. If that doesn't work, you can then come to me and eventually go to the dean. So it is hierarchical, but it's very much a chain of command. We expect you to be adults. If you're having an issue in a course, we expect you to address it with the person that there is an issue with. Don't shy, don't tattletale, just go to the person, have that conversation. Respectfully, of course. Okay, admission to the comm. Many of you want to know, okay, I'm in the program now, but how do I get into the comm? Well, let's take it one step at a time, but I'll tell you how you can get into the comm. Oh, whoops. Nope, we're talking about COVID. My apologies. So our COVID plan, I do want to go over some of the COVID information that we have for both campuses. So obviously it's a dynamic situation. We do have resources and updates that can be found on our website. You will receive an email every Friday from our COVID response team, and they are monitoring the situation. Our contact tracing teams are hard at work, and you will get updates. If there's anything specific to MSBS, you will get updates from me. We have multiple different phases that we are using to guide us, and these come from National Emergency Response Guidelines. So phase red is the most severe, full shutdown. Phase orange is restricted access to essential employees. Phase yellow is controlled access for approved employees. Phase blue is where we are right now. This is controlled access, critical labs and assessments, and students can study in the library through a very specific process, only for 4 hours at a time. Everything is cleaned in between, and you have to sign up. Phase green and phase white, which is obviously a tone deaf tone deaf color system here, but phase green and phase white are the in-person and all clear phases. So right now we are at phase blue. At any time we could move up or down in these phases, and we will keep you posted if that happens. So be ready to return to a prior phase if needed. Some COVID guidelines. You are welcome to study on campus in a study room or a library. There is a way to sign up for this. You will need a badge and a parking pass before you can do that. For those of you that are not local, this does not apply, obviously. You would need to complete the student acknowledge form, which is on our iNet, and an attestation form. This asks you questions about your health and your exposures. You will receive an email saying if you are cleared to enter campus, and you will have to show that to security along with your badge in order to get into campus. You'll need to wear your face covering as soon as you exit your vehicle, and you will have your temperature taken when you enter the building. They will give you a wristband, and obviously please socially distance throughout the building. Do not gather in groups. Stay out of crowded places. The last thing that you need is to end up spending a week having to get swabbed and waiting for your results and worried that you have COVID. And then the even further last thing that you need is to actually get COVID and be out for a couple of weeks, and hopefully you would recover, but it is very, very difficult to deal with COVID while taking classes. We had a student who did get it in the master's program during spring break. And this was right when everything was happening. And it was very difficult, and she still has long lasting effects. So please take this seriously. Face covering is required in all public spaces and is also required in study rooms, even if you are alone in a study room. And there are clocks in all the bathrooms now to remind you to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Again, wear your mask in a study room unless, it says unless you are alone, but it's not a bad idea to still wear it. Follow the COVID-19 signage. Avoid using elevators unless you absolutely need to. All meetings will be held online, Zoom or Skype, mostly Zoom. This includes any student affairs appointments, any group meetings that you might have with your peers. Entry and exit into the buildings. There are approved access points now. So you have to enter and exit at certain points of the building. Now, this is the touchy part. If you see someone violating these guidelines, you may want to just avoid that. But I encourage you as future healthcare professionals to kindly remind them of how to remain safe. And if they don't listen, you can report them to student affairs. If you have COVID-19 or have been exposed, isolate or quarantine yourself. Notify Dr. Roos, who is our Student Affairs Associate Dean, and your Assistant Director, either Dr. Brooks or Dr. Roberts. I recently had a situation where we had an exposure and we had to quarantine for 2 weeks, run around, get the swabs, remain nervous until we got the results. Luckily, we had the all clear, but it's not a fun thing to have to go through. Let's talk about ID cards and parking. You have to get approval from us to get an ID card, and then we will notify security that you need an ID before you can come in to pick it up. You've sent us photos that we will send to security so that they can create your badges. If you are local and you want to be able to study on campus, let's make sure we get you an ID card. You will get it at the security office. You will need to bring a photo ID, and they are required to be visible at all times. The parking passes do require a form regarding vehicle information, and I will send that out to you at a later date once I receive it from security. Ultimately, be informed. We have a return to campus guide that you can read. Please sign your student acknowledgement form. Complete your daily attestation form if you need to come on campus. Follow the building access requirements. And again, be ready to return to the prior phase if needed. Read the weekly COVID response team emails. I expect you to know what is going on with the university in regards to COVID. We will be virtual the rest of the semester. We had hoped to do some lunches, socially distanced lunches, but with a few scares on the Utah campus and on the Colorado campus, we've decided that it's not worth the risk to have a lunch together to then have 2 weeks of stress or potential sickness. The spring, for those of you who are not local, we will be determining in October if we are going live or remaining virtual. So by October, you will know, hopefully earlier, but at least by October, so that you can move to campus if need be. Okay. Admission to RVU Com. We have 3 tiers. Tier 1, the end of fall. If you have at least a 3.6 GPA and you meet all of our non-academic criteria, you have the best opportunity for acceptance into the COM in the current admission cycle. What does that mean? No gap year. If spots for some reason do not become available, you would be granted a spot for the next academic year. Now, I will tell you, we have a good working relationship with admissions, and we have always been able to get our Tier 1 students into the COM for the following year. Now, this is key for our program. There's no cap. All 60 of you could get into the COM next year through Tier 1. We have the spots available. What does that look like though? Do all 60 get in? I'll tell you, in the last couple of years, it's been about 50% that make Tier 1. In the class of 2019, 14 of 26 students met that criteria. 12 are currently in the COM. 1 went MD and 1 went the PA route. For the class of 2020, 16 of 31 met that criteria, and every single one of those students is actually in the COM right now. These are contingent on having a final program GPA of 3.5. So you have to have a 3.6 that first semester, but maintain a 3.5 by the second semester. You must complete the program. You can't get that acceptance and then leave. And you must meet all graduation requirements. You need to submit an ACOMAS application in order for this to happen. If you get into a tier and you don't have an ACOMAS application filled out, you can't get accepted. And obviously you must meet all the non-academic criteria. Tier 2, cumulative GPA of at least a 3.5. So by May, this is end of spring 2021, you must have a cumulative GPA of at least a 3.5. You must meet all the non-academic criteria. Now, students who end up in Tier 1 and are granted acceptance, they may matriculate in the current year, or they may be put on a list called accepted pending space, which means you will have a gap year, but you have an acceptance in hand and you don't have to worry about reapplying. 2 students in the class of 2020 met this criteria. Both were put on our accepted pending space list, and they were both pulled off of the accepted pending space list and are now in the COM. And this is also contingent on all of those same things, having a GPA of a 3.5, meeting the non-academic criteria, et cetera, et cetera. We also have Tier 3. This is at the end of spring 2021. Now, what if you couldn't get your feet under you for that first semester and you weren't able to get your GPA to where it needed to be to make it to Tier 1 or 2? But you were able to get at least a 3.3, which is a B+ average in a master's program, which is very commendable. If you have a cumulative GPA of at least a 3.3, you meet all of the non-academic criteria, and you meet at least one of the COM minimum requirements, either a 500 MCAT score or 3.0 science and cumulative GPA, you will get an interview. An interview does not guarantee acceptance. We did have one student in the past who ended up on a wait list because they refused to prep for the interview and they did not do very well. So, but most of our students who do interview do get accepted. And the interview is for next admission cycle. So if you're tier 3, you'll interview the following September after you graduate for matriculation the following year. 5 students from the class of 2019 met that criteria. 3 students were granted an interview in Utah and 2 matriculated, 1 deferred. 2 students were applying for COM Colorado, and I forgot to change the language. They interviewed in September of last year and they were accepted and they are in the COM right now. You get ranked by your GPA, your interview, and your non-academic criteria. So if you have a 3.49, you would get ranked higher than somebody that has a 3.3 on that accepted pending space list. And 2 students from the class of 2020 met this criteria. They will be interviewing in September. Again, contingent upon everything. There are some students who get admitted to the COM via the normal route. They meet the RVU minimums. They are competitive in other aspects of their application, healthcare experience, etc. And they are granted an interview despite the master's program or with the master's program. They are granted an interview and accepted through the normal route. 5 students last year applied early in the cycle and received interviews. Many ended up on the accepted pending space list, but all 5 are also now in the COM. Again, contingent on all of these things. So what is this non-academic criteria that I keep talking about? Students must have exemplary personal skills. Each MSBS faculty member will submit evaluations for you based on the rubric I will talk about, mid-fall, end of fall, and end of spring. Why do we do that? Well, if you are a student who is constantly late or rolls your eyes all the time, we want to meet with you mid-fall to give you a chance to correct those behaviors. And if they're not corrected by the end of fall, then you would be considered not meeting that non-academic criteria. We have only had 2 students in the history of this program who have not met our non-academic criteria. One of those students had a 4.0, but was late to everything. Turned in things late, showed up late, could not remember appointments, and that student did not get accepted into the COM because we are concerned about when that person gets into their rotations and their residency, what that looks like. We also have a student that was very disrespectful and point picked a lot and was somewhat rude to the professors. That person did not get in as well. But otherwise, we've graduated over 100 students and we have not had any issues. So please keep that in mind in your interactions. We use these evaluations for meeting our own program goals, for recommending students to the COM and to PA programs, and writing letters of recommendation for other reasons. This rubric is founded in core values. The first is integrity. This person displays personal, ethical interactions, is honest, trustworthy, and dependable. They adhere to the codes of conduct, and demonstrate high expectations for integrity in colleagues. So what does that look like? So if we were in the classroom, integrity to me would be holding yourself and your peers to a higher standard. If you see a peer cheating, that you approach them or you approach us. When you become a physician, you cannot allow people around you to not have integrity. So if you have a fellow colleague at the hospital who is stealing drugs, are you going to stand by and not say anything or not do anything? We want you to start learning to use your voice for the right thing, for integrity in this classroom. In addition, if you find in the classroom that there are peers who are being rude or disrespectful or who are not culturally competent, we encourage you to have those conversations with your peers. This class, your attitude, your class reputation is going to be set by you. Do you want your class to be known as the class that's a pain, that doesn't have integrity, that's constantly point picking, that is backbiting? I don't want that for you, but I can only control so much. I need you to step up in your classes and make sure that you are known as one of the best MSBS classes that has ever walked at RVU. So please take this seriously. Collegiality, that you communicate clearly and courteously with everybody around you, not just with the faculty. You know, we have had students in the past who are rude to our janitorial staff, but put on a super smile for the faculty. Not acceptable, not acceptable at all. You must be courteous with everybody in our team. And you must collaborate with your peers and respect the open exchange of ideas. Compassion, I think this goes without saying, that you need to care about the people around you. Cultural competency. We have a session next week to discuss cultural competency. We expect you to interact respectfully with everybody around you and to demonstrate a deep deference for all people. There's something called microaggressions and biases that we will discuss next week. But being culturally competent is very important for our program, but also very important as you as a healthcare practitioner. Motivation. We won't do this for you. You need to be interested, enthusiastic, give your best effort. Inside the classroom and outside the classroom, you need to demonstrate professional behavior with time, management, attendance, deadlines, etc. We want you to also have an attitude of service, that you are committed to serving others, and then professionalism in general, that you use feedback to self-assess, that when someone tells you that you need to look at something, that you do, and you improve your professional and personal characteristics, that you present yourself professionally in the areas of verbal and written language, and that you are courteous and you appear professional as well. Here are some examples. Things that are yay: proper email salutations, on time for appointments, team player, respectful. Things that are a nay: overt point picking, subtle point picking, just no point picking. Please do not point pick. When you are online, it's going to be very easy to get distracted. Try to pay attention during sessions. Don't get on Facebook, don't shop, don't surf. Try not to answer text and instant messages. And also, we want you to be respectful. Being demanding of your professors is really not the way to go. We demand a lot of ourselves, but if you email us and you are demanding on something, that's not going to receive a very good response because we're already working very hard. If you need something from us, we expect a professional email or interaction. So please be respectful of us, of everyone around you. So what is the faculty role in common missions? We provide evaluation and recommendations. I write a letter, I include all of the academic information, and I include feedback from all of your faculty. Every single faculty that you interact with will write a few sentences about you. And I will include those sentences in your evaluation. Those evaluations will get submitted to our admissions committee or wherever you will be applying to. Letters cannot be written until January. We will not write you a letter in September because we don't know you at that point. So if you think that, oh, I'll just point pick with this professor, and no one will really know, keep in mind that that professor will be writing you a couple of sentences for your committee letter. Okay, so now that you know how to get into the COM, let's talk about now. What will you be academically capable by the end of this program? I'm going to give you two student examples. We had one student with a 3.2 GPA and a 499 MCAT. They ended up with a 3.78 GPA in the master's program. In their first semester of the COM, they honored in 5 of 8 courses and they had a 91% grade average. I have another student here, started out with a 2.8 GPA, a 5.02 MCAT, ended up with a 3.7 in the MSBS program, honored in 3 of 8 courses, and had an 88% grade point average. For the class of 2028, in that first semester, they made up 12% of the diversity on the Colorado campus. 5 of the 12 students honored on average in their courses, and the grade point average was around 88%. Now, the average in the COM is around 83, so they were well above that average, 4 to 5%. The take-home message is the current students in our COM are doing above average. That has not changed. They are doing above average now, even though the level of content is higher with less time to assimilate the information because they've learned how to study. And here's some more data. MSBS alumni performance. They're now the second year's COM class of 2023. They made up 11% of the class. Their average was around 87, whereas the entire class average was 84. They honored in around 34% of classes, whereas the entire class honored in around 20%. And these numbers are actually pretty similar for the COM class of 2022 MSBS alumni. Our alumni also become leaders in the COM. For the student council, 3 of the 12 elected positions are MSBS alumni. So you might be asking yourself, okay, but what are the chances of me getting into the professional school? The class of 2017, which I was not in charge of, 67% of them got into professional school, DOPA, MD. 2018, that's 96%. Class of 2019, 95% of them got into medical school, and we have one student who decided that they were going to take a break, and now they are reapplying. Class of 2020, that's 83% right now, but that will rise over the next year as students are applying and interviewing. Diego Puentes, who will be graduating this May, said it was the best decision that he could have made to prepare for medical school. They often talk about it as being pre-med boot camp. And just for another tidbit of motivation, in this current class of 2024, 28 students in the COM are from our MSBS program, not just from last year, but from the year before and the year before. Now, students in, this is a rough estimate of how students do in the COM, and this is where we came up with the 3.3 cutoff. If a student receives around a 3.3, their grade point average in the COM is around 75%, and it increases with their MSBS cumulative GPA. Here are some testimonials from previous classes of previous graduates. The program helped me to build poise, demeanor, and critical thinking skills needed to excel. The program took me from being able to survive in medical school to being able to thrive. So we have director meetings next week. You will be receiving invitations for those. We'll meet each other. We'll discuss professional goals, which we're doing tomorrow. You'll turn in all your assigned papers and we'll talk about any questions. We do have the induction ceremony today. We have made one change to the induction ceremony. When it comes time to announce yourselves, will not just depend on you announcing yourselves in order. I will say MSBS student Smith, and then you will introduce yourself. I sent you an email letting you know what you need to say. You need to say your name. You need to say where you're from, where you got your degree, and what degree you received, where you received that degree, your last degree. And then if you have a military rank, you would mention your rank and your branch. Now, if you have a last name that you anticipate I might have trouble saying, please email me at some time before 2 o'clock today to give me a phonetic spelling of how to say that name. You can even do a voice recorded video or a voice recording memo and send that to me as well to make sure that I say your last name. I will only be saying the last name. I will say MSBS student Smith, MSBS student Town. So please send me that phonetic spelling or a voice recording to let me know how to say your last name. And that is it for me today. We are right on time. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Just really quick, talking about the tier system. When you said that we would need to have applied to this RVU's comm school already, should we do that application now, even if we're planning on going through or trying to go through the tier system?
Good question. So many of you have already filled out your application. And if you haven't, you can do so now. Or some of you I have advised, because you are applying to other schools and taking the MCAT in the meantime, some of you I have advised to wait for a couple of months until you have all of those details in place so you don't automatically get kicked out of the other school system. If you are applying to just RVU, it's fine to finish that ACOMAS application now. But I do encourage everybody to have their applications finished at least by Thanksgiving. If it's not finished by Thanksgiving, it won't be verified by January, which means if you are tier 1, you won't be able to get in. It needs to be verified. So make sure you have it finished by Thanksgiving. Most of you, I think I've advised to finish it before classes start so that you don't have to think about it. So good question, Maya. Other questions?
Hi. It might be self-explanatory, but I wanted to ask it anyway. Since anatomy and EBM start on week 4, I'm assuming there won't be much of it included in the first block exam?
You are correct, and it's a good question. I think there are only 6 points worth of questions for EBM and anatomy in that first block. Because we do approximately 3 questions per hour of lecture. And I think you only have about 2 hours worth of anatomy and EBM in that first block. Good question, Eric. Other questions?
This is Rolando from the Colorado campus. My question is the block format. It said, could you give some more insight? It said the questions, are they all randomly assigned from the courses, or do we have like sections, EBM, this is going to be then immunology?
Excellent question as well. So the block exams will be, for example, physiology questions first. Then you'll turn that exam in, which means you hit a button, and then you'll take your microbiology exam, and then you'll hit a button, and then, so that's how it works. Those questions will be randomized within that particular exam, but we won't randomize phys with micro with anatomy. Good question. Other questions? We have plenty of time to ask questions over the next few weeks. You can email the MSBS program email. You can reach out during any of these other sessions. You will be meeting with faculty over lunch. I hope everybody got their Uber Eats gift card. If you did not, you can hop in the chat and send Courtney or Holly a quick message. So get yourself some lunch. If you don't want to do it today, use it another day as a nice little treat, because we would have fed you had we been in person. So please enjoy. Also, Holly just posted to remember to smile, because we will be taking screenshots throughout that will potentially end up in our Vista View, which is our campus newsletter that comes out every few months. So remember to smile, don't pick your nose, et cetera, et cetera. We'll try to pick shots where everybody looks beautiful. So just keep that in mind. Thank you, everybody. You'll be meeting faculty at lunch today. We'll split you out into small groups so that you can get to know a few people on a personal level instead of this huge matrix of people all at once. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time, and I will remain online, but also we'll see you at the faculty lunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Town. Appreciate that. That was lots of information. Hope you took great notes. It'll help you become a perfect person. There's no such thing as that, but try hard. It'll be great. Thank you so much. It is time for a break, so everybody stand up. I know, it's me. Stand up. Here we go. And we're going to stretch. We're going to reach for the sky. Oh, yeah. That feels good. Oh, yeah, that feels good. And take a nice deep breath. Oh, woo. Shake it out. Shake it out. That's what I like to see. I like to see it. Okay, you now have a 10-minute break. We will be back and ready to go at 10:25 with a fabulous and informative IT session. So make sure you have your computer ready to go. If you're probably on it, if you're not on it, if you want to have another one, if you have an iPad, whatever, we're going to walk through all of this together. Some fabulous students who have been in the MSBS program will be guiding you, but take a break, use the restroom, whatever you need to do, and I'll put on some bouncier music for this break, okay? All right, we'll see you in 10.
This is some good music, Vi.
Hey, just taking a minute here. Just feeling it.
Dance party.
That's right. Who says Zoom has to be boring?
Not the MSBS program, that's for sure.